Second Ezra's. It'll just be actually quicker if I can just type it in. Visuals. All right, this is the book of Second Ezra, chapter 16 and verse 21. It says, "Behold, visuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case." Right? And that's how people were feeling. Okay. Certain prices of things were going down. Gas was going down. All right. So everybody was like, oh, this is great. We're getting stimulus money. Everything's going fine. Right. So they thought that they were in a good case. And even then shall evils grow upon earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And that's what's been happening the whole time while people were comfortable. They're getting their stimulus checks. Well, behind the scenes, people weren't even thinking about the famine that was coming behind it. All right. The meat shortages. Okay. What was going to be the cause of these things, man? Right? It says that the sword, famine, and great confusion. And that's what's been increasing behind doors, man. The sword coming in. All right, you had troops that were coming into cities. Okay, because of this COVID-19, you had Donald Trump, who I forget the term, but he pretty much it was like over 1 million, I believe, over 1 million reserve troops that he had pretty much. I can't remember the terminology that they used, but he put them back in play. All right, that's the best way that I can put it right now. Okay, so certain reserve troops, they were brought back. Okay, and as a matter of fact, you even had certain people of the National Guard, all right, that are becoming more active upon U.S. soils. Okay, you had over in Tennessee, I believe it was in Chattanooga, Tennessee. It was a few days ago. They were saying that they were going to go to different, what do they call those housings? All right, well, Section 8 housings. All right. And they were going to have the troops come in and test all the people that were living in Section 8 housing. What does that sound like? Jacob's trouble, man. Now, I read an article last night to where they said that they received a lot of backlash from it. All right, because of the fear of what could come of the National Guard coming in and forcibly, all right, forcibly testing, all right, Jake in those neighborhoods, right? But this is letting you know that all these things have been increasing, man. All these prophecies have been being brought, been increasing behind the doors while people have been comfortable getting their stimulus checks and so on and so forth. It says verse 21. Well, verse 22, let's grab this. It says, "For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, and the other that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy." So a lot of people are going to die of famine. Okay. A lot of people will die of famine. A lot of people will not have access to certain resources. Okay. And they're going to die. All right. Plain and simple. So let's grab this account of inflation in the scriptures in the book of 2 Kings, chapter 6 and verse 24. It says, "And it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his host and went up and besieged Samaria." Now, I really like going into this word siege here. Okay, since I still have this up, inflation. Inflation is getting to point two. It says a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. All right, so that's what inflation is, man. All right, the increase of prices because of the lack of supply. All right, and then the purchasing value of the dollar, all right, being depreciated, causing you to need more of those dollars, man. What was I going to look up? Siege, right? Because this is exactly what we've been going through. A siege is a military operation in which enemy forces surround a town or building. Now, what did you have happen? Once again, during COVID-19, you had troops that were being brought into particular cities, or put into position. All right, now that seemed to have died down, or people haven't been focusing on that, but those troops didn't go anywhere. All right, because they're reopening, okay, are supposedly supposed to be reopening certain areas. Do you think that's going to cause them to leave? Oh, well, everything's fine. They don't need us anymore. No, those troops were brought in strategically to be put in position. Okay, when these riots happen, all right, or when they want to force more draconian law, more extreme measures, that they're going to be there to enforce those things, man. All right, whatever legislation is put down. Okay, and fight against the rebellion, as it talks about in the book of Second Ezra, the 15th chapter, how these the people would not regard their kings nor princes. So the army, all right, or these military troops, they're going to have to be used to control the masses of people that are upset, that decide to riot. Right, so that's what they're being put in place for as well. But it says a military operation in which enemy forces surround a town or building, which we see been happening, cutting off essential supplies, with the aim of compelling the surrender of those inside. And that's what's been happening. All right. Essential supplies have been cut off. The government's been telling people, hey, burn your food. All right. Burn your crops. Euthanize your animals, your meat. OK, throw out all your milk. All right. This is what they've been doing. And they have control over certain supplies, man. They have control over the food. All right. So this is what happens in a siege. So this is what they were going through in Samaria. So this is 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 24. And it came to pass after this that Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, gathered all his hosts and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria. Right. So because they were cutting off the resources, nothing was coming in, nothing was coming out unless they would allow it, which they weren't allowing anything to come in and come out. And during this siege, all right, that caused a famine. Right. So within the city, that's like the same thing that's happening now. If there's no trucks that are coming in, all right, to the city to bring in more goods to restock certain stores, well, what's going to happen? Whatever's in that store, once everybody has bought up those goods, then there's nothing left in the stores. So what are they going to do? They're going to go looking for food. The government's not going to bring in certain things unless you abide by their requirements at a certain point when they decide to say, okay, we can give you this and we can give you that if you get the vaccine, whatever the case may be, however it plays out according to the prophecy of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, right? But it's the same thing. Once those resources are gone, people are going to go fight for food. All right, they're going to invade others' houses. We're going to grab that, man, Lord's will. And Second Ezra, well, let's grab it right now. Second Ezra 15 and verse we'll start at verse 19. It says, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation, a lack of resources, man. So they're going to invade, going to your crib, going to your house because it's not in the stores anymore. Right? So this is what's happening. This is prophecy. So going back, 2 Kings chapter 6 and verse 25, and there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver. And this was an unlawful beast, right? An unlawful animal that they were going to use to eat. So this lets you know that everybody's moral standards, all right, because they knew the law back then, all right? But because things got so bad, they were like, fuck it, all right? I need to eat. Whatever I can get my hands on to eat, I'm going to eat it. Right. So an ass's head was 80 pieces of silver, and the fourth part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. Right. Now I looked up cab, and it's a certain measurement, or it's a certain measurement. Right. That's put in a vessel. So just to put it in a way that we can picture this, you have to imagine if it said a cab's a fourth part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver, right? So imagine you have a small vessel, all right? I don't know, maybe a gallon, all right? Let's just use this just to put it in terms, all right? A gallon of a vessel, right? That can hold a gallon of water. So people were going around scraping off dove's dung, right? Filling up that gallon, so to speak, with that dove's dung. And then I'm going to sell a fourth of that gallon for how much? For 5 pieces of silver. Now, when I looked up in a certain commentary, I believe it was David Guzik. I looked up a commentary. Now he said that this was more than a whole month of labor, right? So imagine you working for a whole month. All that money that you saved up for that whole month, you could only use that to buy a quarter gallon. In this term, right, a quarter gallon of shit to eat that might last you what, 1 meal. Okay, so that's inflation. That's going into inflation. Now this happened in Venezuela. In Venezuela, it was at one point, I believe it was about 2 years ago, when their economy really started collapsing. A carton of eggs was $1,200, man. A carton of eggs was $1,200. $100, right? So these things are going to be happening here, man. So this is inflation, man. Now this inflation happened because of the famine that was happening. Was the same thing here. There's a famine that's being controlled here, so we can expect these things here in the United States, man. But it says, and as the king of Israel were passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, help, my lord, O king. And he said, if the Lord Yahweh do not help thee, when shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor, out of the winepress? And the king said unto her, what aileth thee? And she answered, this woman said unto me, give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So they're speaking of cannibalism, man. This is how bad it got. Hey, as the saying goes in the world, desperate times calls for desperate measures, man. So desperation is going to be brought upon the people. Now, if a woman, if she's willing to if she's willing to eat her son, all right, or eat another person's son, all right, she's willing to do anything, man. So obvious, it would be simple to reason that if the mark of the beast was implemented during this time period, she would easily take it, man. Okay, she would easily bow down to take it to get some more food, all right, to avoid having to actually revert into cannibalism. Or it's going to be the same thing here. It's going to get so bad, people are going to be begging to take the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, man. All right, it says, verse 29, so we boiled my son and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, give thy son, that we may eat him. And she hath hid her son. So she played her, man. All right, she played her. She dipped out, okay? Ate her son the first day and dipped out the second day, man. So this is going to be rough times out here, man. Let's end it off with Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. Daniel 12 and 1. It says, and at that time shall Michael stand up, the great prince, which standeth for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that same time. And at that time thy people shall be delivered, everyone that shall be found written in the book. So this time of trouble is going to surpass any time that we can read about, whether it's in history, all right, in the scriptures, which is history, you know, as well. You know, but this is going to be worse than any of those time periods, man. All right, like it says in the book of Ecclesiastes, it says that which had been is that which shall be. All right, there's no new thing under the sun. So if we can read about something that happened in the past, we know that this time is going to be greater than that, man. There's no new thing under the sun, man. So just like, okay, a month's work of labor could only get you to buy a quarter, all right, a certain amount of dove's dung to eat, all right. Well, hey, just like with these stimulus checks, man, however long they continue to do this is going to get to a point to where that whole $2,000, all right, or the $1,200, whatever the case may be. All right, right now, yeah, you can buy some things, you can get certain goods for it, but that's going to be nothing, man. What is that going to do for you, man? You might be able to get one meal with that whole stimulus check, man. That's how bad it's going to get that's how bad inflation is going to occur here, man, with the state of this economy. So having that being said, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash, the honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect, pushing out this word in all sincerity and in truth. With that, I'm going to say Shalom.